I want to start today with a little thought experiment. Imagine you work for a company and let's say this company has 100 people, just to keep it simple. And every year, the leadership of the company sits down and identifies the 10 biggest obstacles or problems that are standing between where the company is and where it wants to go. So in this leadership meeting, maybe HR comes in and says, hey, this hiring process is just taking too long. It's broken. We're losing good candidates. That's a big, important problem. The sales team comes in and says, our pricing isn't competitive and it's costing us deals. Marketing says, the biggest problem we are facing is that the turnaround time between getting the information we need and publishing that information is just way too short. And so on and so on and so on. So the leadership hears the 10 problems. They're real problems, the kind that if we don't solve them, they're not just going to slow us down, they could threaten the future of the company. Then leadership calls a company-wide meeting, all 100 people in one room. I want you to think about how you would approach this. What is the best way to actually solve these 10 real problems? So I'm going to give you two options. Option one, you walk into the big company-wide meeting and you lay out all 10 problems. You give the gist of each one. So HR says this, sales says this, and then you split the room into 10 groups of 10 people. And each group gets assigned one problem, and they are told to just go deep, solve for this problem. Don't worry about what else is going on or what you're going to need. They know that the other 9 problems exist, and they know that their problem probably is connected to someone else's. But none of that matters at the beginning. The assignment is put 10 people in one group, all the focus, all the attention on this one problem, solve it completely, and then after each group presents their solution, then the whole company sorts out the details, right? Group 3 needs something from group 6. Fine, they figure it out. But that all happens after each group has focused on their one problem. Okay, that's the first option. And I understand this is simplistic, this is a little idealistic, just stay with me. So option 2. You bring all 100 people into the room again, and this time you don't split them up. You go through the problems one at a time, but you go all the way in on each one. So someone stands up to present problem number 1 and gives every single detail. They tell you why this is the most urgent, the most critical problem of all. They walk you through exactly what is going to happen, the catastrophic consequences, the people in this room that are going to be affected if problem 1 does not get solved immediately. You know, they're showing you charts and they're showing pictures of all the people that are going to lose their job. All 100 people are feeling the full weight and impact of problem number 1. And then another person stands up and presents problem number 2 in the same way. This is the most urgent problem that we're facing. This is the most critical. Here is all the details. Here is who's going to get hurt, and this is what it's going to look like. By the time you've done this for all 10 problems, everyone in the room has every detail of every problem just laying heavy on their shoulders. And before they leave, you remind them it's not enough to just know these problems exist. You also need to be actively solving them while we go through this process. Otherwise, the company's going under and all of the consequences from all 10 problems are going to happen. Now, go home, sleep well. We're going to do this again tomorrow. You already see that second scenario is insane. Every single person in that room would be overwhelmed and anxious and exhausted and confused. Should I start here? But what about this? This feels like a more important problem. No, wait, this one feels, but if I get that problem, then I have to solve that problem. half of the people in the room would have a nervous breakdown by the end of the week. Some of you would last a little longer because you already know how to hold a lot, but nothing would ever fully get solved because no one could think straight. There's too much information. You are too flooded. You are thinking about too many things at once. You're paralyzed. You're energetically exhausted. Now, obviously, that is a crazy bananas way to run a company. But here's the deal. You are running your life like company number 2. And more than that, the world is actively telling you that you should run your life like company 2. You have probably heard me say this before. I'm going to keep saying it. The easiest way to keep people obedient and compliant and in your control is to keep them exhausted, overwhelmed, and confused. That's what's happening. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that there is a group that's sitting in a room scheming, like twirling their mustaches about this. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But what I do know for sure is that it doesn't need to be a conspiracy for this way of operating to be by design, because it works. A person who is flooded with so much information and they feel powerless to try and figure it out, that person can't think clearly. When you have all of the details of all 10 problems and it's on you to solve all the time, you aren't thinking clearly. And a person who is not thinking clearly from their higher level brain cannot take deliberate, aligned action. And a person who can't take aligned action stays exactly where they are, doing exactly what they've been doing. Consuming more information, maybe that'll help about all the problems that they aren't solving. And the thing that keeps you in that loop is the fear of being perceived as lazy or indifferent or not caring. Because here's what's happening. Company 2, someone goes home and they're so exhausted, they meant to solve all of the problems when they got home, but they fell asleep. And they didn't spend their evening researching problem 7. So the next day, when they come back, someone else in group 7 is like, oh, must be nice. I personally didn't have time to not care last night, but I'm happy for you. And in that moment, your worthiness is on the line. Your reputation, what people think of you, how good of a person you are. Not knowing every detail of every problem stops being a personal choice then and becomes a total moral failure. Evidence that you don't care enough and your belonging, your status in the community is on the line. Being perceived that way leads to rejection. It leads to abandonment. It leads to people not liking you, not taking care of you. And that's dangerous to your survival as a human. So you get back in and you hustle relentlessly so that no one could ever mistake you for a person who is lazy or indifferent or apathetic. You push and you push until your body gives out. You get sick. How many times have you gotten sick the day you start your vacation? It's like your body has been forced to sprint through an entire marathon and it takes you as far as you can and then some. But the second you stop, you're not getting back up again. You've seen the videos of people like you pushed your body past the point of no return and now they need help to cross the finish line. You push and you push until you crash. But in that crash, you're not resting. You're numbing out until the hypervigilant voice just gets louder and louder. And then you get back up and you push again. This is the cycle. Because you are afraid of being perceived as lazy or indifferent. That's why I said you needed to be lazier. I said you need to be bored a lot more. And you need to care way less about a lot of things. And that hits hard because those words, those are fighting words. They are wired directly to your worth as a person. Lazy means you're not contributing. Boring means you're not engaged. Indifferent means you don't care. And if you don't care, who even are you? What are you even doing? How do I know this? I have been there. I have spent long stretches of my life in full hypervigilance, convinced that the world was falling apart and that it was somehow on me to know everything, to not miss anything so I could fix everything so we could all get back to normal. Nobody could have ever accused me of being lazy or indifferent. I was running myself into the ground. And what I can see now is that version of myself, I was useless. Not because I didn't care, but because I was so overwhelmed and my power was so diluted and I was confused and I was exhausted that I couldn't do anything well. Caring about everything isn't the same as helping. Being informed and outraged and thinking about and talking about all 10 problems all day long every day doesn't get them solved. So no, I am definitely not asking you to become someone who checks out. Like, sounds like someone else's problem. That's the opposite. What I'm asking is for you to take these words, lazy, bored, indifferent, and strip them of their power over you. Take away the charge. Because right now, the fear of those words is what's keeping you in company number 2, absorbing all 10 problems, swirling around like, what are we going to do? Unable to focus on any of them and calling it virtue. Look at how much I'm doing. Look how exhausted I am. You can't call me lazy. Look at how much I work. What are you actually doing? I'm not asking you to stop caring or check out. I'm asking you to pick a group. Pick a problem, 1 through 10, because you are one person. You have one nervous system. You have an actual, real, finite amount of energy and attention. And the most powerful thing you can do, not just for yourself, but for the actual problems that you actually want to help solve, is to go deep on one. Trust that there are other people in groups 2 through 10. They are working on their problem. You don't need to supervise. You don't need to go around and make sure everyone's doing okay. Just focus on what you have in front of you. Care a lot about that. Be productive in that one thing. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. Report back to the group when you have more information, and that's it. The world isn't going to stop running company number 2, right? It's not going to stop telling you that you should know everything and feel everything and carry everything, and that anything less than that is a character flaw. It's a moral failure, because company 2 benefits from you staying exhausted, overwhelmed, and afraid. It's designed to. It is really easy to control people when they're exhausted and overwhelmed and afraid. The only way anything changes for you personally and for any of the things that you actually want to see change in the world is to opt out of company number 2. Now, deciding to opt out is not a one-time thing. You're not just going to hear this today and be like, yep, I'm opting out, and tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. I wish it worked that way. As we all know, it doesn't. Your nervous system has probably decades at least of evidence that being lazy or being bored or being indifferent is the worst thing you could ever be called. You could be rejected from your community. You could be shamed. One podcast episode is not going to overwrite that. What overwrites that is, say it with me, repetition. Hearing the news story that instead of consuming everything that is happening everywhere in the world and trying to wring your hands about how to solve it, it is safe for you to pick one thing. It is safe for you to rest so that you can focus on that one thing. And it is safe to not know everything because you're just one person. You need to hear that story on repeat before the world, company number 2, comes in with like, but really, is that really? Yes, that's it. It benefits from you feeling afraid and confused and overwhelmed and sick. You need to get in front of this. That is why I've got the daily calibration every single day, a message in your inbox, a short reminder of who you're deciding to be today before the day tries to choose for you, because your nervous system is not going to change without repetition. But with it, it totally will. That's just how it works. The link is in the show notes. Call Me If Life will be opening soon. Make sure you are on that list because we're company number 1. Have a boring, lazy, unbothered day. I will see you next week.